Hello, and welcome to the English with Colin Podcast, a podcast for English language learners. My name's Colin, I'm an English teacher in Tokyo, and if you're looking to improve your English skills and gain more confidence in your ability to communicate in English, you've come to the right place. In these episodes, I'll provide you with short conversations in English that cover a range of topics, from everyday situations to more specialised subjects. These conversations are designed to help you practice your listening skills and pick up new vocabulary and grammar along the way. Regular listening practice is key to improving your English, and I hope this podcast will become a valuable resource for you on your language learning journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. And remember, the more you listen, the more you'll learn. This is episode 9, and in this conversation, we're talking about commuting in Tokyo. Hi, Sue.
Hey.
How are you?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm good. So we're going to talk about commuting in Tokyo. Various different ways that people commute. The most common would be by train.
Yes, I would say that is true. Well, Tokyo is such a big city that you will probably be working far away from home.
Right, yeah, so there'll be quite a distance between where you live and where you actually work.
Exactly, and also, living more central is more expensive.
Right.
So, you would usually live a little bit farther away from the office because it's a bit more, more affordable. Mm-hmm. And you would commute into Tokyo. I mean, some even live outside Tokyo, like Chiba or Saitama. Right.
Yeah, and then travel over an hour
yes.
To get into work. The average commute probably 45 minutes an hour. I would say probably the average person commutes that kind of distance.
I would say an hour, yes.
And in our experience, when we lived in Shinjuku, I used to have to commute to work, and it was one of the underground trains, one of the metro lines that I could take, but I didn't like taking it. So the train would have been about 10 minutes, I think, into Shinjuku from where we lived. So not long at all. But I used to walk. I preferred to walk, and it was quite a walk. It was about 45 minutes, 50 minutes walk. It was great exercise, but partly it was because I really didn't like taking the trains.
No, and also the metro line that we would take to go to Shinjuku was one of the newest.
Right.
And it's so deep that it would take 15 to 20 minutes to get out. I mean, not the one we took.
Right, okay.
Because it was only one line. But arriving to Shinjuku, that line was quite deep.
Yes. So the point here is that because it's one of the new metro lines around Shinjuku, they need to dig pretty deep.
Yes.
To find space to put this new line in. Where we lived, they didn't have to go very deep because there were no other train lines around there. But so coming out at Shinjuku, you had to go up, I don't know, 3 escalators, 4 escalators?
I think it was more like 7. All the way up to the street.
Right, up to the ground level.
To the ground level.
Yeah.
It was more like 7.
So yeah, that wasn't great fun. What about buses? People don't use buses?
Yes, I think buses are very common. I would say I would take a bus because it was more convenient for me to take a bus from home to another station called Ikebukuro. Mm-hmm. And from Ikebukuro, I could go to university just one line. So I didn't have to change lines, which is something that in terms of commuting Tokyo is a very good thing. So you don't need to change 2 or 3 times
Right.
To get where you need to get.
So the bus took you to the train station.
To the train station, and from that train station, I was able to take only one line. And the buses, I liked the buses. The buses usually are more filled with older people and children, school
kids. Yes.
kids. And it's very funny because, you know, they all come out at the same time. They're very little. And you can hear them coming, and then they start coming
onto the bus.
Yeah. And
it's absolute chaos.
Because
they have these special kind of backpacks, these very traditional Japanese style school bags that they obviously carry on their back because they're really heavy, but they have no sense of space, so they just hit everybody with their really rigid leather backpacks, their school bags.
And they're having fun, they're talking to each other, they're not aware,
they're shouting at each other,
anyone else.
Absolute chaos when these kids get on the bus.
Yes, it's a tense moment, but we all deal with it. But they're very sweet. Always when a school kid leaves the bus, says thank you to the driver.
Yeah, they shout. They shout because there's 2 doors. There's an on door and an off door.
Exactly. And
when they get off the bus, they'll stand and they'll shout thank you to the bus driver, which is very sweet. Not many people drive. Not many people commute by car. Certainly in central Tokyo, parking is very expensive. Owning a car in Tokyo is expensive because you need to pay for parking space.
And the more central, the more expensive the parking space can be. I've heard.
It can be crazy.
Yes, it can be crazy.
If you're looking for a parking space around Roppongi or Aoyama, Azabujuban or somewhere like that, it can get expensive.
Well, there are many houses in the city center that do not have parking spaces, for example, because it's convenient. You can take the metro, you can take the trains. Bikes are a very good way to move around central Tokyo or within your area. You always see loads of bikes, students,
bikes
moms.
for short commutes. Taking the kids to school, maybe going to the supermarket, or going to the train station. So again, it's, we talked about buses taking you to the train station, but also bicycles being used to take you to the train station.
Yes, there are places parking spaces for bikes, and you would pay your monthly fee. I guess we've never done it. And that would be your last kind of leg, let's say, from to your house. Right. And then you can do that on a bike. You leave the bike, you take the train, and then you come back, pick your bag, and get home. Yeah.
Taking the train at the rush hour in Tokyo is quite an experience.
It is an experience, but it's also a different experience depending on where you take the train. There are stations that have certain unwritten rules on how to deal with a lot of people that are not necessarily the same as other stations. I guess because of how the station is designed, they have to deal with it differently.
One example I found was in Ikebukuro station, the Marunouchi line. They had a very specific method of getting people onto the train, and they had a lot of people on the platform, a lot of staff on the platform managing kind of where people stood. There wasn't a lot of space to stand on the platform, so everyone had to kind of stand shoulder to shoulder within sort of very set spaces. So I think that's a good example of a station having to find a solution to the large volume of people trying to get on the train at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the English with Colin podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation and found it helpful in your language learning journey. Remember, the key to mastering a language is regular practice. So make sure you listen to our podcast regularly and keep honing your listening skills. We appreciate your support and feedback. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you again next time for another conversation in English. Until then, keep practicing and take care.